Howdy everyone, my name is Avram Plager, and welcome back to my Blender tutorials for 3D modeling. For those of you that have stuck around for a little bit, you'll notice my voice is a lot clearer. I finally got that microphone I've been talking about for a little bit. It is the Red Dragon, I forget the specific model, but it's a Red Dragon microphone. I got it off of Micro Center, and I did some test recordings with it and it seemed pretty good. But throughout the recording, feel free to comment down below or email me any recommendations that you'd like to see. I hope the microphone is a good sound quality, but it's up to y'all's opinion on whether you guys like this microphone or not. So please let me know. But with that, today we have a pretty fun tutorial to do. We're gonna just start going into the basics of animations in Blender. For those of you who don't know, Blender is actually used in a lot of animations. I believe even Disney uses them for their animations. So just in this tutorial, we'll go over some basics of the framing and different, just some different types of animations for basics. In future tutorials, we'll go into even to physics animations. However, for those tutorials, you will need a pretty beefy computer. But for right now, actually, we won't need anything very significant. I'm running on my PC, which is fairly strong, but for these animations, you can just use a laptop. So to begin, we'll just press this on our G, and then we'll press Z along the X-axis. So select your cube, press G, and then Z, and then I'll move it along the X-axis. And then we'll press G and X to move it along the X-axis. Just over a bit, doesn't really matter the specific location that you have, but just over a little bit. And then we'll press I on our keyboard, and then I'll open the Insert Keyframe menu, and we'll save location only. Now, you can save multiple values by going into your tab here. If this menu is not open, look in your keys here and search for object properties, and then you open this box. Another way to do what I just did, instead of pressing I and then going to the keyframe menu, you can actually go here and press these three boxes. Since we're only going to be translating this cube along the X-axis, you only really need to save this X value, then press G along the X-axis, move it over, and actually go to your 50th keyframe. I usually forget to do this. You have to actually move this, so this is your timeline, so you actually have to move this bar here up to the keyframe that you want before you make any changes. I honestly can't tell you guys how many times I've messed that up, so if you do mess that up a lot, honestly don't feel bad about it, because I've been doing animations for quite a while, and I even mess it up all the time. That being said, now that we have that, you'll see that our X translation has changed, how it's in orange, or red, or whatever you want to call that color. Then we'll say Animate Property. And now you can see if we press Shift and the left arrow on our keyboard, it'll go back to the starting frame at 1. And if we press Shift and then the space bar, it'll play the animation. And as you can see, our animation, all we did was go to our first frame, insert the keyframe for location, then go to our 50th frame, insert the keyframe for that location, and then if we play the animation, you can see it goes there. Right now we have our end frame set at 250, which is over here. So if we did want to make kind of an animation going back very slowly, we could just hop on over this 250th keyframe, press G along the X-axis, and move it back. Then insert the X-axis. So then if we go back to the beginning of our animation, and press Shift and spacebar, you can see it goes to there. And then it very, very slowly goes over to the other side that we set for the 250th keyframe. And there you go. So you can see it does loop at the beginning of the animation. So if you did want to set it to, say, the 150th keyframe for the end. You could do that. The invalid token. You can't have a 0 before the keyframe. I actually got a different keyboard, so I'm still getting used to the numpad. But for that, you can see it kind of highlights the active timeline in gray and the other in a darker gray. So you know where you're set roughly, and then you can go to these keys and put a specific start and end. So now when we go, you can see the animation loops. At 150, it'll start over at the beginning. There you can see it skips all the way to the beginning. So that's the basics of the translation. You can set all three of these. So you have rotation and scale. You have location, rotation, and scale that you can set. So we'll take this cube and we'll delete it. And for a different one, we'll add in a UV sphere. Actually, that's not specific. We'll add in a monkey because that's a little bit better to show the location and rotation features. So we'll press G along the x-axis. Then we'll insert the keyframe for along the x-axis and the Z rotation. So Z rotation controls this rotation. Again, with these values, if you're scrolling the values and you right-click with your mouse, it'll set it back to the original value. A little key that saved me a lot in Blender is that. So now with that, we'll take the x coordinates and we'll animate the x coordinate and we'll animate the Z rotation. Then we'll go to our 50th keyframe. And for this, you have to left click and drag. Now we'll take this and we'll press G along our x-axis. And then we'll set the Z rotation to 180 degrees. And now we'll save the X translation and the Z rotation. So now if we go back to our first frame and we press the spacebar, you can see that that monkey goes and it rotates evenly to 180 degrees by the end. So there we go. So that's the location and rotation. If we'd like, I'll just show this specifically for scaling, just so we don't have too much going on. I will set the X, Y, and Z scale since we're going to scale this uniformly up. Then we'll go to our 50th keyframe. And we'll press S on our keyboard. And we'll just scale this up. There we go. There's that. And now we'll see the X, Y, and Z scale. Then we'll take this and we'll scale it down a bit. Actually, we'll go, to the 100th keyframe. And we'll scale it down a bit. And then we'll set the X, Y, and Z scale. And now we'll go all the way back to our first keyframe and we'll show that animation. You can see it grows and then it shrinks back down. So fairly fun animation. You can combine all of these and I'll show a little bit of that. So we'll actually delete this and we'll add in an icosphere. I'm very fond of icospheres just because they're pretty fun to play with. We'll set the radius up a bit so we can see that a little bit better. We'll press G and along the Z-axis and then G along the X-axis. So we want this to be translated on our X-axis to -10. I'm just setting this a little specific because I want to be able to set this all the way back to the location. So the Z-axis will actually, we won't change the Z-axis for now. I may show some multi-dimensional translation in the future, but for now we'll just do one-dimensional translation. So the move along the X is -10. You can close this panel for now, and then we will insert the location, and we will insert the Z rotation, and we'll insert the X, Y, and Z scales. So for this animation, the values that we're going to be changing are the X location, the Z rotation, and the XYZ scale. So if you're only scaling along the X, you only need to save the X scale. However, if you are going to change any other values in your animation further on, you do need to save those values even if they aren't changed initially. So with that, we'll press G along our, we'll set this to our 50th keyframe. We'll press G along our x-axis and move that all the way up to 10. Doesn't need to be exact, but there, and then we'll rotate along the z-axis 180 degrees, and we'll set the scale to, we'll press S and then 2. So there we go. And now all the values that are in orange we need to save, so we'll save that value, we'll save that value, and then we'll save these 3 values as well. And then we will go up to our 100th frame. We'll press G along the x-axis, move that back to roughly -10. There we go. We'll rotate along the z-axis, -180. And then we'll set the scale to 0.5. And now we can save all of our other values. So there, 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 and there. So now you can see we'll set our end frame to 100 because that's the end of our animation. And now if we go back to the initial frame and we set the animation, you can see it grows, rotates, and then it goes back. And you can see since we set that roughly to where we had it initially in all our initial values, it almost looks like it's just a looping animation. So now you can see we combined all those values, and it's a pretty neat animation. There's a lot more complex things that you can do with these tools. Like I said, you can use these, but you can also press I on your keyboard and save it from there. I have not delved into any of these, so I will put a tutorial in the future on these values, but I personally have not looked into what any of these values do. However, these are all values that are usable in your animations. But with that, I hope you guys like my tutorial. And again, please let me know if there's any problems with the sound quality, any background noise you want me to get rid of, or at least try to get rid of. And again, thank you guys for watching. My subscriber count, I believe, is now at 92, last I checked. So thank you to all the new subscribers that just bumped me over 90 subscribers, and we're almost at 100 subscribers, which is honestly really amazing to me because I never expected this channel to go anywhere, but it really is. So thank you guys for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for future videos.